Hey, everyone. This is your host, Eve, with Cersei Self Care Podcast, and we are doing something different today. So, this is going to be my first YouTube video, y'all. I'm excited. I'm
Yeah.
nervous. I'm sweating a little bit, but it's okay. You know what? We're going to get through this.
Mm-hmm.
I am so excited about this new episode that I'm doing now. This episode is going to be on grief. As we all know, that's a touchy subject for a lot of people, but I was like, I'm gonna put it out there. I posted on Facebook like, hey, I want to do a grief episode. I'm not ready yet. I'm gonna wait a little bit. But what happened was Shameka, my special guest host today, Shameka Williams, she commented like, hey, I'm a grief counselor. And I was like, okay, girl, well, let's see what we're gonna do. She kind of gave me that little push to get into this grief episode because I honestly, for me, grief is like a really hard subject. So I felt like I wasn't ready. But in her response, I was like, you know what? It might be time. So this is just a God pushing me to another level. We talk
Exactly.
about some other type of things because this is Thursday self care, so we're gonna get into the self care.
Yeah.
So I want to introduce you guys to my lovely special
Hi.
guest host, Shameka Williams. I'm so excited that you're
Yes,
here.
I'm
Thank
so
you so
excited to be
much for
here.
coming.
Well, thank you for inviting me. This is amazing. I'm excited to be here. Thank you for inviting me. I'm honored.
So tell me about yourself. I'm sorry, this is Shameka Williams. So tell me about
Yeah.
yourself.
So my name is Shameka Williams. I am a life grief coach as well as a grief and bereavement counselor. I am a serial entrepreneur. I own several businesses, a business administration business. I own a grief and life coaching business called From Grief with Love. And I also have an organization called Those Without Mothers for people who have lost their mothers or maternal figures, whether it's to death or whether it's to life, because we know it's not always death that you grieve for.
Right.
And so, yes, I have that. I also have a podcast called the Being Bipolar Podcast that basically creates a community for people who have bipolar disorder or any mental health diagnosis, just so they feel like they're not alone. So yeah, that's just kind of the couple things that I do. I also am a speaker, so I speak at different places about grief, about mental health, about any really subject, about transitions, about healing. I'm big on making sure that we are taking care of ourselves, which is why this podcast is amazing. Because a part of that taking care of yourself is healing and then being intentional about your healing. So yeah, I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So I just want to go back just a little bit,
Yeah.
to touch on the two businesses that you stated. You said you have one that's called Those Without Mothers.
Yes.
So what led you to create that?
Yeah, so those are our mothers. The premise of that was I lost my mom. I lost my mom to breast cancer about 10 years, maybe 10 plus years ago. And what happened was it took me down a destructive pattern of behavior. I think when a lot of us grieve, we don't know how to grieve. And I hadn't dealt, I still don't think I had grieved the fact that I had lost my grandmother in college. And it was so bad that I had to leave school because I didn't know how to grieve. But then when I lost my mom, it was a different level of grief. And I realized that one of the things that I felt like held me back in my grief was that I didn't have a community. I felt like I didn't have support. And so I wanted to create that for people.
Like a safe space.
Like a safe space, exactly, for people to be able to have other people who can resonate with what they're going through, right? So I think when you're in a situation that you feel like other people can't relate, it can be harder to go through that situation. So I created Those Without Mothers, even for people who are, have mothers who are addicted to drugs and those things like that. You still lose your mother, or aunt or grandmother or whoever. And so that's really why I created Those Without Mothers.
You know what? I never knew that you created because I've been like following your journey with Those Without Mothers, and I never knew that you created it not just for losing your mother physically, but also the grief that comes with other ways that you can lose your mother. Yes. I think that that's like really awesome because so many people, especially women, black women, we struggle with relationship issues with our moms.
Yeah.
And we always talk about mothers with sons and how they coddle and love and treat
Yeah.
their sons. And then we talk about the other side of that, which
Mhm.
is, black mothers with their daughters and how they put them out or
Yeah.
whatever the situation may be. Also, the trauma that comes behind,
Yeah.
addiction and stuff like that
Yeah.
when it comes to losing your mind, because it's you lose them.
Yeah. If they're gone, you don't. Once you don't have that relationship, it's a loss.
Yeah.
Or when you have a situation where you even had to cut, because a lot of us have had to cut off people, mothers, aunts, grandmothers, whoever,
Ooh, you touching more
because
fun.
yeah, listen, because we have to, because otherwise that's how we protect ourselves.
Mm.
And there can be a lot of unhealthy and toxic relationships that we had to cut off for our benefit.
Mm.
And that's part of that loss. Like, that's still grief that you have to deal with.
All right, get on my position.
Ooh, child. Well, I think one of the fundamentals of grief that people need to understand is that grief is not exclusive to death,
Mm.
right? It is about the loss of something. It could be a marriage, it can be a friendship, it could be a job, anything that you lose or you transition out of or into. Honestly, can be a loss.
It's like a mourning stage.
Definitely a mourning stage, and you
Mm.
you go through that with so many different, and you'll go through it multiple times in your life. There are times in my life I had to grieve myself because
Mm.
I was not the same person. And when you lose, oftentimes we try to go back and be that person. You will never be the person that you were after the loss. It doesn't matter what kind of loss it was. You will never be that person again.
I love that you said that.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love that you said that, because you know what? I just a little bit, like, I for me, I felt like it was weird
Mm,
with my grief because I never experienced losing someone. And
mm,
I was like becoming of age.
mhm.
And I never really, a lot of people haven't experienced as far as physical death,
Yeah.
like those detrimental, really people that we're really, really close to having that sort of loss in your life.
Yeah, yeah.
And oddly enough, for me, what happened was I lost my stepfather
Mm.
violently. He was gunned down by Baltimore City Police in 2006. So it was like this traumatic situation that happened to me that I was just like, oh my gosh, like,
Mhm.
and I didn't know how to process it. And I was like, okay, I was 16.
Mm.
So I was just like, and that was the only father figure I knew. So for me, it was like, wow, this is a
Mhm.
lot.
Yeah.
And in my mind, I'm saying this is a lot, but physically, I'm still moving on. I'm still doing the things that I usually do. And what happened was I started having panic attacks.
Yeah. Yeah. And what happened was, what most people don't realize is that there are physical manifestations of what you feel mentally.
Mm-hmm.
I've had a couple people who I know personally who have went through some things. And if you want to pause, we can. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know what just happened with the light.